Have you ever found a hobby or something you love to do that no matter what mood you're in, it can always make you happy and refresh you, and it's just an amazing feeling when you have something like that? Well, it's exactly what happened to me when I lived in Hawaii and I found out about outrigger canoe paddling. My name is Shannon Smith, and I was born on the island of Kauai. It was a small island, 60,000 people, not a lot of people. I lived there till I was like 11 to 12 years old. Then I moved to Oahu, and I wanted to get more involved with school sports. So I decided to swim and do a little water polo, and I tried a little wrestling too. And I loved all those sports. I love sports. I'm an active guy. It wasn't my thing, and I wasn't always happy to go to practice. I decided to try paddling for a club, and it turned out really successful for me, and I really liked it. So my main points for this speech are: I will briefly tell you about my life growing up in Hawaii. Secondly, I will tell you about my time in high school and the difficulties I had making friends and all that stuff. And then lastly, I will talk about how this object is the center of my time, where it was always blissful and there was never a downside. Next, I will actually transition to my main points of the speech. I honestly was extremely blessed to have lived in a beautiful state, and ultimately have the opportunity to grow up and mature in a safe and amazing environment. Living in Hawaii was was a dream. It was a movie, everything you can think of, really. I hitchhiked when I lived on Hawaii. There was no problems. There was no crime, really. Everything was slow, I would say. But then when I moved to Oahu, it started to get fast paced. It's a city. Jumped from 60,000 people to over 1 million, and it was crazy. It was a crazy time, and it was a weird transition, definitely. I had trouble fitting in, moving from a small high school to a bigger high school, and I was having trouble with ADHD and some learning disabilities, and it was trouble making friends. So I wanted to try to find a sport to help me make friends and have a good time and overall be happy. And so I decided to try out for the paddling team at the school. And next, overall, finding a sport was not that hard. I did wrestling, I played a little bit of water polo, I swam for the school, and it was all fun, but I wasn't happy going to practice. So I decided to try out for paddling. And the object that I'm using for this speech is this paddle, which is an outrigger canoe paddle. It's normally made of wood and then carbon fiber blade. So this is a wooden shaft, and this blade is curved a little bit so you can catch more water. But it's very light, and it has a handle up here and tape right here, so you have a little bit of grip. Summary of my next, I want to do in conclusion, having this paddle, I've had it for almost 7 years, and it's always in the corner of my room to remind me of what an amazing time I had and always be happy. And if I'm in a bad mood, to always just look at the bright side. And I would like to retrace back to my main points when I first talked about how I lived in Hawaii and how it was beautiful and amazing. And then secondly, how I had trouble fitting in when I moved from a country island to a bigger and crazier island. And then lastly, I told you about how I decided to try and find a sport that I personally loved, and I did, and it was an amazing time. But in conclusion, whenever I'm feeling low or down, or whether that be from school, life, relationship, or friendship, whatever that might be, I always keep this paddle in my room, and I've had it for a while, and I look in the corner of my room, and it reminds me that everything happens for a reason, and whatever you do with that reason changes the outcome of everything. Thank you.